Hello and welcome to our webinar today, the all new Google Sites for Schools. We'll be getting started in about 13 minutes. So if you are watching the recording of this in the future, you're going to want to jump ahead about 13 minutes. I will trim this section out later on, but if you beat me to it and I haven't trimmed it out yet, you will want to jump ahead to that spot. You're going to want to jump ahead about 13. Well, that was Welcome again to our webinar. We'll be getting started in about 12 or 13 minutes. In the meantime, if you want to check out some of the resources for this session, they are located at tiny.cc/spark240, which is, if you're watching this live, probably the page you're on right now, which is the page right here. Below the live video, there are some session resources there. Feel free to check those out in the meantime. Otherwise, we'll be looking forward to getting started here again, like I said, in about 12 minutes or so. So thanks so much for being here today. Looking forward to learning with all you guys. Welcome again to everybody here today. We'll be getting started in just about 9 minutes. Thanks so much for being with us today. Looking forward to learning with you as we dive into the all new Google Sites for Schools. Welcome again to everybody joining us here today for the webinar. We'll be getting started in just about 5 or 6 minutes. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate that. Looking forward to learning with you and exploring the all-new Google Sites for Schools. See you in just a few minutes. Welcome again to everybody here today for the webinar. We'll be getting started in just about 2 minutes. Thanks so much for taking the time to join us here today as we take a look at the all-new Google Sites for Schools. Hello and welcome to today's webinar, the all-new Google Sites for Schools. This session is part of a series of free webinars offered every week or two by the Stark Portage Area Computer Consortium, or SPARC for short. SPARC is an information technology center up here in Northeast Ohio where we support about 30 school districts. However, this webinar is open to everyone, and we'd like to welcome all the people who have joined us live today or who are watching the recording in the future. My name is Eric Curts, and I'm a technology integration specialist here at SPARC, and I'll be your presenter for this session today. Please feel free to connect with me during and after the webinar. My blog is at controlaltachieve.com, and if you're a Twitter user, definitely feel free to connect with me at Eric Curts. All of the information for today's webinar can be found at tiny.cc/spark240. I would encourage you to go to that site if you've not already done so. If you're watching live, you're probably already there, but if you're watching in the future, definitely check out that site. That'll take you to the site where the live video is now, which will be replaced by the recorded video in the future. Just want to point out a couple quick resources on that site for you. Right below the video, we do have the slideshow for this session, as well as a couple of other handy resources for you there. A little bit further down below there is a Google document, which is the live session chat document. My colleague Anthony is with me here today, and he is monitoring the Google Doc there as a chat doc. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, things to share with us, please jump in that doc, fill that in, and Anthony will be either answering those questions or passing them along to me, or hey, feel free to help each other and answer each other's questions in there. Below there is a session evaluation. So afterwards, please take a moment to give us some feedback. We always appreciate that. And then below there is going to be where the quiz is. Once the webinar is finished, give me about a minute and I'll go ahead and link in the quiz. That allows you to take a quick quiz to prove that you watched the webinar. And when you get done with the quiz, it will generate a PDF certificate of attendance for 1 contact hour that you can turn into your school's professional development committee for an hour, for a contact hour. So that's always great. Now, while you're on the site, when you get some time later, feel free to check out a few of the other links we have up there, including our PD schedule that will show you other upcoming webinars. I've got a couple coming up in January, one on Screencastify and one on literacy activities with Google Docs. While on the site, you can also see our recorded trainings. We got lots and lots of those from the past couple of years. All of those are freely available to you. There's even a newsletter you can sign up for if you want to stay in the loop on everything we're doing here at SPARC, and a contact tab with information, again, to get in touch with Anthony and myself. All right, well, very good. I think we are ready to get back into the session here for today. All right, so what are we looking at here today? This is going to be a session on the all-new Google Sites. So we're going to take some time to do a quick overview of Google Sites, what features it has, the benefits of using Google Sites, and then a little bit of time talking about how this is different from classic sites for those of you who have used Google Sites in the past. After that, a very quick look at a couple examples so you can see what you can do with sites, but the majority of the time is going to be the last bullet point. We're going to build a Google site. So hopefully you can just play along with me and do the same thing while I'm doing it. And by the time we're done, we'll all have a Google site to show for what we've created. What do you need for this session today? Basically just a Google account. As long as you have a personal Gmail account or a school provided, I need to get used to saying G Suite. You'll hear me say Google Apps probably forever, but a school G Suite for Education account. And then of course, access to Google Sites. Now this is an introductory session, so you don't need any previous knowledge. If you've never done any web design before, you're perfectly fine. This is an introductory session just to get you started in this. All right, so let's jump on into this. First of all, a quick overview of what Google Sites is all about. So basically, Google Sites is a free program provided by Google for web design, for creating web pages. It is a great option for schools. So if you're looking to do a classroom web page, or maybe you're in charge of a club or a sport or an organization at your school, excellent for that. But this isn't just for teachers and educators to use. It's great for kids too. So student projects or student e-portfolios, Google Sites lends itself very well to that. A couple of nice things about sites. It is all web-based, of course. So as long as you can get to the internet, you can get to Google Sites and you can edit it from any computer. It is easy but powerful, and I will definitely stress the word easy. I've been in education for 25 years and doing technology pretty much the whole time, and I can hands down say I've never come across something that I find to be easier than the new version of Google Sites. At the same time, it is very powerful, can do a lot of really nifty things. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we get into it. If you're a Google user, another wonderful thing about Sites is how well it integrates with Google. So it's just piece of cake to grab a Google Doc or a Google Map or a video from YouTube and insert it right into your site. You can create multiple sites. That's another nice thing. It's not like, oh, here's your one site. You can make as many as you want. One for your class, one for the club, one for a project. Other nice things about it, you can make your sites public or private, so it's really up to you. You don't have to put it out there for the entire world to see. It can be something that you're just working on, and then you can either release it to the public or just to your school to view it. And lastly, collaboration. What would it be? How could it be a Google tool if there wasn't collaboration involved? So yes, you can also share edit rights with other people so that they can help build the site with you. Now, having said all of that, I do need to take just a moment to explain the differences, and I'm not going to go into great detail here. I'll give you some links where you can look at the gory details yourself, but a couple of key differences with classic sites versus new sites. So, real quick. Google Sites, which we're now going to call classic sites, the old version of Sites, has been around for a long time, and I love it, been using it for many, many, many years. Well, the thing is, it hadn't really been able to keep up with more modern developments like drag and drop and being able to nicely resize on different devices. So if you created a Google site in the classic version, you brought it up on your phone, didn't necessarily look as good as you'd want it to. And so Google decided that instead of just improving and tweaking and altering classic sites, they were going to make a brand new, totally from scratch, fresh program. And so they've created the new sites. And it has no connection at all to the old sites. It is a completely new program. Now, it came out this summer, so 2016, the summer of 2016, as early access, like beta access. And so many of us got in and started playing around with it. And then it rolled out to everybody in November, so just about a month ago from the time that I'm recording this. And what's nice is, again, it is a very easy to use program. You can just hit the ground running with it. But for those folks who have any experience at all with the classic sites, you are going to notice there's a lot of things missing. There's things that classic sites did that new sites doesn't do yet. Now, I say yet because I truly believe Google is going to continue to roll out loads and loads of features that aren't there at the moment. So for what it's worth, I do have a link here in the slideshow, which has a comparison of what you have from the old sites to the new sites. Now, this link was provided by Stiegel.com, wonderful website out of the UK. They do fantastic things over there with sites, and Stiegel has put together a really, really nice comparison here where in one column you got everything that classic sites does, and in the other column everything that the new sites does. And yes, as I scroll down through here, you're going to see a lot of red X's in the new sites column. That is true. There's a lot of things it doesn't do yet, but I guarantee you, give them time over the coming months and this over 2017. I think a lot of these red X's will start to disappear as more and more features get rolled out into the new Google site. So just be aware that not everything you're used to seeing is going to be there right out of the gate. Now, for what it's worth, going forward, Google has let us know that in 2017, they will have a migration tool to transition your classic sites over to new sites. So we don't know when, just this is information straight from Google's website, that they, in 2017, a migration tool will be developed or released for us. During this time, both classic and new sites will continue to be supported. The other date they've given us, and again, we don't have a ton of information on this, is they've told us 2018, that in 2018, they will release the formal timelines and instructions for the sunsetting of classic sites. That at that point, they'll let us know exactly when classic sites will be shut down and how all that's going to happen. But notice they do say you're going to have at least 1 year in advance that knowledge. So if in 2017 we're getting some transition tools, and then in 2018 we're being told when Classic Sites is going away, and we're going to have a year before that happens, I think we're going to probably be seeing something around 2019 as to when Classic Sites really goes away. So just be aware, if you want to create a Google site, probably a good idea to start using the new sites, especially since it's very easy to use, it's available, and they're rolling out new features. But if you want to use the old Classic Sites, just be aware you've probably got about a 2-year window at this point before it does start finding its end of life. Okay. For what it's worth, I do have a ton of training stuff on the old sites, of course. Anytime you make a whole bunch of training things, that's when Google releases something new. So on our page for today, if you scroll down below the video and you go to the session resources, I do have a link to resources for Classic Sites. That'll take you out to my Control-Alt-Achieve page, where back in March, I put up a post on the ultimate guide to Google Sites for Schools, where I included all 3 of my previous webinars on Classic Sites, because at that time I didn't know it was not going to be Classic Sites anymore. So there are 3 hours of training with lots and lots of information on Classic Sites. So hey, if you still want to use it, there's a lot of great stuff there for you. But again, my guess is you're going to want to be jumping into the new one. All right. Well, hopefully that gives you a little bit of clarification on that. So real quick, what does the new Google Sites look like? Well, I'm not going to go through all of these links. They're in there if you want to play around with some people's examples. I'm just going to go ahead and stay with Stiegel for a moment and open up a sample website that they threw up on their site to show you what the new sites looks like. And then we're going to build a site. So this is a very quick example from their website showing the new Google Sites. And we'll be seeing all of this here in just a moment. The big headers that are now part of the new site, you'll see that right away. And then as you scroll down through, you'll see they're able to use lots of nice images and text and, different sections in there. And of course, across the top is your navigation with drop-down menus. You can embed things. If I go over to their contact page, you'll see they've embedded a Google form. So that's a real quick example of what a new site is going to look like. Well, let's go ahead and do it ourselves. So from here on out, the rest of the time we have together, we're going to squeeze in as much as we possibly can to create a simple Google site. We're going to create a site. We'll talk about editing the theme. We'll work on the welcome page a little bit. Then we'll create a couple of other pages, a calendar page and a documents page and a photo gallery page, things like that. And then we'll wrap up by talking about how to share the site so that other people would be able to work with you or to be able to view it. All right, well, let's get going. So first thing first, we need to get to the new Google Sites. Probably the easiest way to do that is just to use the link that I've got here on the screen, sites.google.com/new. Now, it is important to get the new in there, because if you don't, it'll take you to the classic version, at least for now. I mean, eventually, I'm sure that'll change. So that's one way to get there. So if you want to head there right now, go ahead and go to sites.google.com/new. Having said that, there are a couple of other ways you can create a new Google site. I just want to mention this real quick. If you're in your Google Drive and you go to the New button and you go down to More, you will notice that Google Sites shows up in Google Drive as well. So that's another option. You can just go New, More, and Google Sites, and that will also create a Google site. Or if you're a Waffle user, if you like using the Waffle button, if you go up to your Waffle button and give a click there and go down to Sites, again, that's gonna take you to the old, I say old, but the classic sites to begin with. But once you get there, there is a link on the left-hand side that says New Google Sites. So even if you do wind up going to the old sites, on the left-hand side, there's a link that will get you to the new Google Sites. Okay, so whichever way you prefer, if you just want to use the link, sites.google.com/new, that'll work as well. But where we should all wind up is a page that looks something like what I've got on the screen here. Now, keep in mind, if you've never used the new version of Sites yet, you won't have all these thumbnails I've got. This is because I've been playing with it a lot and experimenting and doing stuff. So I've got a bunch of thumbnails from some created sites already. So as long as you're on a screen that has Google Sites at the top, and then in the bottom right-hand corner, there should be a big happy red plus button to create a new site. That's where we want to be. So let's go ahead and do it. So from the new Google Sites page, we'll come on down and we'll click on the big red plus button, and that will create your blank Google site. Boom, simple as that. There you go. You now have a Google site. All right, let's take a quick tour of what you're seeing on the screen here. All right, so first thing first, up here in the top left is a spot where you can title your site. Now you might notice that it's got two spots actually up in the top left. One says untitled site and one says enter site name. So for the untitled site, I'm going to come up here and I'm just going to type in sample site 006. I've been doing a bunch of sample sites and just numbering them so I keep track of them. So I'll just call it that for now. And then below there where it says enter site name, if I click there, it'll just copy that straight down. And you may say, well, Eric, why are there two different? Why is there one up here that says sample site 006? And then why is there one down here that says the same thing? Well, basically, here's the idea. The one at the top, this is the name you're going to see inside of Google Drive. This is your personal name for the site. So you could call it whatever you want up here. The site, the name that shows up right below it, you can actually edit that so it's different. It doesn't have to look exactly the same as the one above. The one here, that's what people are going to see. So this is the name of the site that your visitors are going to see. This is the name of the site that you're going to call it. So you can leave them the same, but yes, you are allowed to call it differently from what you see to what other people see. All right, very good. Let's keep on moving across the page for our tour. So below that, you will see your page title. Now, this is a little bit different from what you're probably used to in classic sites. Usually in classic sites, the name of the site, that's what's taking up all the room at the top. You've got this big, giant title of your site. They flip it here with new sites. The name of your site is kind of small up at the top. And then below there in much bigger text is going to be your page title. Well, since this is my welcome page, I'll just put in welcome for the title of my page. Of course, you guys, if you're playing along at home, please type in whatever you would like for the title of your page. And we'll come back. We will visit this again and we'll tweak this and we'll do a few other things to it. But for now, just so you know, that is where your page title goes. Let's keep doing our tour, though. Let's jump over to the right-hand side and show you a little bit over here. You'll notice on the right-hand side, there's three tabs. There's the Insert tab, the Pages tab, and the Themes tab. Let's chat real quick about those. So the Insert tab is what we're going to use to put stuff on our web page. We'll be able to add text boxes and images and YouTube videos and calendars and docs and forms and all kinds of stuff. So we'll come back to that in just a moment. The tab next to that is your Pages tab. This is where you're going to go to create and manage your pages. So you can make a whole bunch of new pages. You can drag them around and edit them and move them and do all kinds of stuff to them. So we'll come back to that shortly. And then the third tab over is the Themes tab. This is where we can set the overall color scheme, font, etc. for the site. Okay, now there's not a lot of themes just yet at the moment of the time of this recording. There are 6 themes and each theme has variations within it. Now, again, I'm sure this is going to change. There's going to be a lot more options coming up in the future, probably options for you to do, editing of themes and stuff. But for right now, as of December 15th, 2016, we have 6 themes. So we've got Simple, we've got Aristotle, we have Diplomat, we have Vision, Level, and Impression. So those are the 6 themes. Now for each of these themes, there are color schemes as well. So for Simple, I can switch to more of a reddish color or green or purple or black. And so you can choose different colors, and then you can also choose the font style. Each of the themes has typically 3 different fonts you can choose from. In this case, it's light, classic, or heavy. I'll just go ahead and leave it on light. That's fine for this example. So those are your themes, and you can go back at any point you want and change that. So feel free to pick something for now and then return to it later if you want to adjust it some more. All right, guys, so that's the quick tour of what you're going to see on the page. Let's go ahead and get back to doing some editing. So I'm going to come back over to my welcome page now. And when we were last here, I had typed in a title for my page, and I kind of left it at that. Well, we can do a little bit of editing to this header, even though we chose, what was my theme? Simple, and I chose green for my color. Even though I did that, I actually still have some adjustments I can make to this header to make this a little bit more personal. Maybe it looks perfectly fine the way it is. If so, that's great. But let me show you a few options you have here for adjusting your header. So below where the title is, you'll see there's a little pop-up menu here that says Change Image and Header Type. Okay, so header type, what that does is it allows you to change how big the header is. There's three options. You've got large banner, which makes it really big. You've got banner, makes it smaller. And then you've got title only, which strips out anything in the background and just leaves the title. So you can easily make a change there based upon what you might like. The other option that I said that you'll see there is the ability to change the image. So instead of having the background that the theme provided to you, you can just click change image. And now you can choose a different background. And there's lots of ways. There is a gallery provided if you want to go with any of the images that Google has provided. Those are all fine. But you can upload your own picture if you've got an image you'd like to put on there, or go to your Google Drive, grab a picture off of your drive, or go to your Google photo albums if you prefer that. I'm just going to use the search feature. If you go to search, you can just type in a search term. I'll just say this is for a classroom page, so I'll just type in classroom. Let's say I'm looking for a picture of like a chalkboard and desks and stuff like that. So go ahead and run a search for classroom. And please do notice any images that come back are public domain images. They are, or at least they're labeled for commercial reuse with modification. So you're allowed to use these images on your site. No problem with that. So as I start scrolling down here, you see I'm getting a whole bunch of pictures of classrooms. And if I find one that I like, I can just go ahead and click on that picture and it will make that be my new header. Really doesn't matter. I'll just grab one of these. This one looks fine. Go ahead and select that. And now, as simple as that, it switches out my background that was there with the background that I've chosen. And if you want to change the image, obviously just go in and change it again. Okay. Now keep in mind, everything up here in the header is editable. So if you don't like the title of your page again, you can change that. You can also drag things around. If you say, oh, I don't want the title in the center, I want to drag the title over to the side, just click and drag it over to the side. So put it on the left, put it on the right, put it back, more in the center. Really, it's up to you. I'm just going to leave mine in the center. I think that's fine. But you can move things around anywhere you want up there. All right, well, let's go below the header and let's talk about the body of our page now. So down here, obviously, is where we're probably going to have most of our information, our text and our images and our links and all that sort of stuff. So let's insert a couple of things on the welcome page. I'm going to start by putting a text box in. So from my insert menu up here in the top right, going to go ahead and click on the text box button, and boom, simple as that, it drops a text box right there onto my page. Now, at this point, you can feel free to just type away whatever you'd like to put in that text box. Welcome to my website. I've been teaching so many years, and I've got a dog and a cat and a this and a that, or whatever you might want to put in there. Now, I have already typed up something ahead of time to save a little bit of time. And so I'm just going to copy and paste some stuff in. So I'm copying some text I've got typed in on a different screen here. And I'm just going to come here and I'm going to paste that in. Right click and paste. Now, before I just paste this in, just as a quick little tip for you, if you're doing that, if you're copying and pasting information maybe from another website, maybe you say, hey, I've used classic sites and I want to move over to new sites and I don't want to wait for the transition tool and I just want to copy paste things. If you just do a normal copy paste, that typically brings with it all of the wacky formatting that something might have. So a lot of times when I go to paste, I choose to choose paste as plain text or paste without formatting. And then it just drops the actual raw text in there, makes it a little bit easier than to reformat it the way that you want. So I'm going to go ahead and paste as plain text, and blurf, there it is. So there is some text on my page, as simple as that. Now, once you've got that text box inserted there, just like I was talking about above, you can adjust this text box. So if you don't want the text box going all the way across the screen, no problem. Just click on it, grab one of the little blue circular handles, and you can make the text box thinner, or you can drag it over to the right-hand side of the page, or you can drag it to the middle, or drag it back to the left. Well, that's one of the beautiful things about the new Google Sites is everything really is drag and drop. You can just move things wherever you want them so that they're in the spot that you're wanting them to be on your site. You can also do some editing to the text that's in there. Not a whole lot, but a few things we can clean up. So if I come here and I highlight maybe the welcome to the website portion of that, instead of just being regular text, I might want to make it bold or italicized or centered, or in the little drop down here, I could say, let's bump it up to a title or a heading or a subheading. I'll just make it a heading. That'll make it kind of pop out a little bit more. So there we go. Pretty simple. All right. Let's say I want to add a little bit more text. In addition to my little welcome here, I've got another block of text that has, like how to contact me. So I'm going to go ahead and add another text box. And again, feel free to follow along with what I'm doing or put in whatever you guys want. Feel free to, but I'm going to add a second text box now. And in this one, I've got a little bit more text. Let me copy that and paste that in. And there we go. And so for this text, it's like, how to contact me kind of stuff. I'm going to go ahead and highlight this and bullet that. So it's a bulleted list. And I think I'm going to make that a little bit more centered on the page. I'll just have that be like the bottom of my page and make it a little bit more centered there. All right, that looks a little bit more centered. Move it over just a little bit there. Okay, that looks pretty decent. Now, the reason I was showing you this and why I put this in two separate text boxes is because when you create something with the new Google Sites, anytime you add something to it, basically what it does is it creates a horizontal section. So like the header, that's one horizontal section. This text box is in its own horizontal section. And this new text box that I just added in right now, it is now in its own horizontal section. Well, what's important to know about that is each horizontal section can be edited individually. And if you look to the left, if you click on one of the sections and look to the left, there's a little painter's palette there that if you give a click on it, it allows you to make adjustments to that particular section. So I could say, let's make this section a little darker, or let's make it colored, or let's add an image behind it. And so what you can do is for each horizontal section, you can go in and make adjustments, whether it's a new image in the background or just a color to make it pop a little bit more like that. And so you can see how easy that is to get that to pop out a little bit there. Looks great. All right. Well, before we leave text behind and move on to adding some images, I do want to talk about links because obviously that's a big thing. A lot of times when we have text, we end up having links in there. So let me show you how to add a hyperlink. If you have some text in there like I do here where you've already typed out the hyperlink, so like my blog, www.controlaltachieve.com. If you've already got something typed out as a link, simply highlighting it and clicking the little link button that pops up in the little floating toolbar, that's all you got to do. Highlight the link, come up here to the link button, give a click, and boom, it's a link. Simple as that. Now that's fine if the thing you're highlighting is already in the www format, if you've already kind of typed it out like a link. But what if I said, I want to take the Stark Portage Area Computer Consortium Spark, and I want to turn that into a link to go to our Spark Tech Integration page. Well, the problem is it's not a link, it's just a bunch of words. So if you do that and you go up and click on the link button, Google's going to say, sure, I'll be happy to make it a link, but you need to tell me what that link is. So at that point, you'll have to either type in or copy and paste in the actual link. I'll just type it in real quick to go to our tech integration page and then hit apply. And now that is a link. All right, good stuff. Before we leave the welcome page, let's add a picture to it. So we've got a nice header, we've got some text, we've got some contact info. I'm going to go back to the insert option over here on the right, and I'm going to choose to add an image. When you go to add an image, you've got the normal things you'd expect. You can upload a picture, you can search for a picture, you can grab a picture off of your Google Drive, you can go to your albums. I'll just go ahead and I'll just grab my profile picture here. That should be fine. Go ahead and click on that and drop that in. Now, when you drop something in like a picture, again, sites may not know where you want it to go. So it's very possible it's just going to get dropped like on its own. And that's what it did. Sites put that image all by itself in its own horizontal section. Well, maybe I don't want it there. Maybe I want it down here next to my text. No problem at all. Just go ahead and click and drag that picture over to the right of the text, let go of it, and boom, as simple as that, that is now on the right-hand side. Looks like I might have, nope, that's pretty much as far over as it will go. So that's fitting in there nice and snugly. Now, there are some things you can do with the image if you want. You can click on it and you get the little handles. You can crop it. So if I wanted to crop off a little bit of the image, I could, start cropping this off. And now it's thinner, or move it over, make it bigger. You can also double click on it to go into zoom mode if you want to zoom in on the picture or zoom out. So there's some nice built-in cropping and zooming features already in there. Now, before I leave this, though, I do want to make sure I make this real clear. At the moment, when it comes to adding things like images and text and things, please notice each thing is independent. It's its own separate entity. What that means is I cannot take a picture and put it inside of a text box. It can't be part of the text box. It's either going to be on one side of it or on the other side of it. It's not going to be inside of it. That is clearly a difference between classic sites and new sites. Now, will we ever have the ability to do that? Again, I truly don't know. I don't have any like inside scoop or any special knowledge, but I do know Google is continually adding new things. They already have added a bunch of new things to sites since the new sites came out. We'll just have to wait and see what else they end up developing. As it is right now, their focus is on simplicity, making it easy, and also beauty, making it a very nice looking page. And so, as you can see there, within just a few moments, I have a very attractive welcome page that just took very little, skill at all on my part to be able to put that together. All right, very good. So let's leave the welcome page behind and let's move on to creating a couple of additional pages. So up here on the top right, remember I said we've got these different menu options, and one of them is the Pages tab. And here's where I can go to add additional pages. There's my home page there, but let's say I want to add some additional pages. To do that, all you have to do is click on the little button that looks like a plus and a little piece of paper there. That's to add a page. Give that a click and you just type in the name for your new page. So maybe I want a page called Calendar. Boom, there's a calendar page. And then maybe I want a page called Class Docs. Right, there we go. We got a Class Docs page. And then, let's say we want a photo gallery. And then maybe I want to do a page for tech help for my students. Whoops. So if they've got some technology questions in the class or something. So I'll do a tech help. And as I do that, you'll notice what it's basically doing is just creating all of these new pages as I do that. And across the top, you will see we're getting a navigation bar. So here's my home page, just like it was before. And then next to there, I now have a calendar page. I've got a class docs page. I've got a photo gallery page. I've got a tech help page. Now, please notice each of those, they're pretty basic. they're just blank pages. But again, you can edit them exactly like the home page. Everything we did on the home page is not like the home page is special. It's just a page. The calendar page is exactly the same. I can come in and say, you know what? I don't like, the header the way it is. So click header type. And again, you can switch from title only to banner or large banner. Exactly like the welcome page. It is no different at all. And you may say, oh, I don't like the background for that. Well, hit change image and I'll upload a picture or search for a picture. Here, let's search for calendar real quick. And there we go. We'll grab that calendar image and boom. Simple as can be. There we go. We've got a nice calendar, background for that. So very easy on each of these to go in and make those same changes that you did on the home page on those. Now, if you don't like the order that these are showing up in, please note that they come in the order that you create them. So because I created calendar, then class docs, then photo gallery, then tech help, that's why they're in that order. But you can change all of that. If I come over here to the right, I can simply drag and drop any of these. So maybe I said, you know what? I want, the class docs to be in front of the calendar. Okay, click it, drag it up, let go, boom, simple as that. Now class docs shows up and then calendars to the right of that. In addition to that, one really nifty thing you can do is if you end up getting a whole bunch, so let's say under tech help, maybe I'm going to have a whole bunch of different pages to help the kids with technology stuff. So let's say we create a page called Google Drawings. Maybe I'm going to have like a page for each of the Google tools. Well, maybe I don't want Google Drawings to be its own page. I want it to be a sub page of tech help. And if that's the case, what I can do is simply grab the Google Drawings page, and instead of moving it in a different order here, you just put it right on top of the page you want it to be a drop-down menu of. So if I grab Google Drawings and I drop it on top of Tech Help, now it is going to be a sub-page under Tech Help. So now if somebody hovers above Tech Help, Google Drawings is a drop-down in that menu. Now, if I don't want it to be a drop-down anymore, just click and drag it away, and now it's off on its own, or click and put it back on top of Tech Help, and boom, as simple as that, it's a nice drop down. Now, it did pick up the background of the calendar. So I'm going to hit reset there. Perfect. That looks good. And so very easy. As you create pages, all you have to do is drag and drop them around to put them in the order you want, or put them on top of each other to make a drop-down menu to organize them better. For what it's worth, while we're talking about pages, please also notice that to the right of any one of these pages, there's a little 3 dots button. You can always click on that, and that does give you a couple of options. You can make any of your pages be the home page. So if you decide later on you want one of these to be the first page people see when they get to your site, you can set something as the home page, and it will swap it out with the home page and make it be the first page they see. You can, of course, rename a page. You can delete a page. And here's one they added recently, hide from navigation. If you choose that, then you can see the page. So if I hide the calendar from navigation, I can still get to it and I can work on the calendar page, but nobody else will see it. It won't be up in the navigation. So if you've got a page you're not ready for people to see yet, you're still building it, or you just don't want to clutter up the navigation, you can always choose hide, or I'll come back to show and show it there again. All right, guys. So hopefully that gives you a good overview of creating pages and organizing them and so forth. Oh, one last thing on that. When it comes to the navigation, it doesn't have to be a horizontal navigation across the top. There is the option to also make it be a vertical navigation going down the left-hand side. To do that, all you have to do is hover above that horizontal navigation and find the little gear to the left of that. Give that a click and you'll see there's those 2 modes, top navigation or side navigation. If you choose side navigation, now you don't get anything across the top. Instead, when you click here on the left, you get a drop-down side menu that shows you all of your different pages, and you can expand them out. So that can be really nice. Again, if you've got a bunch of pages, this will scroll up vertically. And so that's pretty nice if you've got a ton of pages. If you don't have a whole lot of pages, or if you're able to handle them with the drop-down menus, then you definitely can go back to a top navigation instead. Just really up to you. All right, well, let's go ahead and work on a couple of these pages that we've got here now. So we can start with calendar. We're on that page right now. Might as well go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go back over to the insert menu here on the top right. I'm going to start adding some things to my site, show how quick it is to create the site. So one of the pages we created was a calendar page. And so maybe we want to insert a Google Calendar down below so students could see upcoming, assignments and due dates and things like that. To do that, all we have to do is come over to the insert menu and scroll down until we find the calendar option to insert. Give a click on calendar. It'll now pop up a screen where it's going to show me all of the calendars I'm allowed to insert. Now, this is a bit of a mess because I've got a lot of calendars. I'm sure you get the idea. It's from all the different trainings and stuff. The point is, I would want to come down and find something like algebra. I'll just use algebra 2 as an example. So I'm going to grab my algebra 2 calendar. And by choosing that calendar and clicking insert, it's now going to drop that into my page. Now, the key thing is, remember, you have to have the calendar ahead of time. You don't make a calendar with Google Sites. Google Sites just displays it. You need to go to Google Calendar, and from Google Calendar, you need to create the calendar, and you need to put things on the calendar, and you need to make sure the calendar is publicly viewable. So all of that has to happen in Google Calendar. All you're doing in Sites is choosing the calendar you want and then clicking Insert. And boom, as simple as that, it drops that calendar right on your page. Now, when it does drop it on the page, it may not look exactly the way you want it to. So again, feel free to grab it and make it bigger, make it smaller, move it around, make it taller, make it shorter. Also, by default, it puts it in what's called agenda view, where it shows you like a list, an upcoming list of due dates and things like that. If you click on the calendar, notice there is a little gear icon that appears. If you click that gear icon, you can tweak other things like the view mode. Maybe instead of agenda mode, you want it to be in week mode. Or maybe instead of week mode, you want it to be in month mode. That's perfectly fine. You can make all those adjustments, hit done when you're done, and there you go. Now you can see how that calendar is going to look for people. Now, again, like I said, don't forget, and this is a key thing with everything we're talking about here with Google Sites today. Google Sites does not share things for you. It simply lets you insert them, and then it relies upon the sharing settings you have set. So if I go over, and we won't turn this into a calendar lesson, but I'll just real quick pull this up. If I go over to my calendar, and if I go to the sharing settings for my Algebra 2 calendar, notice that I have it set to make this calendar public. And that's something I would have to choose to do ahead of time. So in my calendar, I would have to go into the sharing settings and say, make this a public calendar. Because if it wasn't, if this was not a public calendar, Sites will let me insert it, but nobody's going to be able to see it. It'll just be a big blank white square on my page because I haven't shared it. So keep that in mind. That's true with pretty much anything we put in the site. All right, so that's a calendar page. Let's try a different page. Let's go to class docs. Let's say we want to have a page where we've got all sorts of documents for students to access. Again, let's make it a little prettier. We'll grab an image for this. Maybe we'll look for a picture of some files so we can have a little bit snazzier header for our page. There we go. That looks fine. All right. So here's our class docs page. Now, when it comes to adding documents here, so this might be study guides and, you know, all the resources for chapter 1, 2, 3, stuff like that. You've definitely got a couple of options here. And again, there's never like a right way. I'm not saying this is the way you have to do this. There's several options. You could certainly just add the individual docs and embed them right into the page. Now, I'll show you that, but then I'm going to go a different direction. What I mean is if I come over here, to the insert menu, you'll notice that I have the ability to insert docs and slides and sheets and forms and charts. Well, if I come here and I say I want to insert, oh, we're having a little technical difficulty with the audio. Testing 1, 2, 3, testing 1, 2, 3. Oh, looks like we may be okay.
You're okay again.
All right. All right. Sorry about that. Somebody was letting us know we were having a little audio issue. Thank you for letting us know. Appreciate that. And if so, just let us know. Let Anthony know if there's any issues with that. Put that in the chat doc if we notice that there's any audio issues. All right. So when it comes to putting documents on here, certainly we could come over here and say, oh, I want to add individual documents. And you can do that. You could come here and say, I want to click on insert a doc. And then you could go through and try to find a document that you would like to insert into there. So I could come down through here and grab, you know, any document. I'll grab our Q&A doc and I'll just insert that in there. And you could do that. You could just drop a document right into the Google slide or to the Google site, and you could adjust the size of it and so forth. Now that's fine if you're just adding a single individual document. You want people to be able to see that document. Probably not going to be real useful if you have a whole bunch of documents that people need to be able to see. You're saying no audio?
No audio.
No audio. All right. We're hearing that we're losing audio again. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. It's showing audio on my end. But you're saying you're not hearing it on yours?
Actually, there's no video for a second. I would try and make sure it looks like you do.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to keep on going, and we'll just, sorry about that. We may be having some issues with connectivity, but we'll just keep on going. All right. So the point that I'm making, though, is that you may not want to put the entire document embedded in there. If you've got, 25 documents from chapter 1, that's not going to make a lot of sense. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and delete that document off of the site. And let me show you a different approach, a different idea for adding a set of documents to your site. What you can do instead of inserting individual files is notice in the insert menu, there's the option to insert an entire folder. Underneath the Google Drive option, you can insert an entire Drive folder. So what you could do is you could go to Google Drive and you could create a folder. I've made one called Sites Files, just for an example, and I've got a Documents folder inside of that. You could make a folder for Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3, whatever you might want, and then you could throw all of your help guides, handouts, study guides, worksheets, whatever, slideshows, instructional materials. You could throw them all inside of that folder. Now, again, you got to make sure you've shared things properly. So you'd have to make sure that you go to that documents folder, go to the sharing settings, and make sure that anybody with the link can view it. Because again, if you don't share it, sites will let you insert it, but if you don't share it, they're not going to be able to see anything in there. So make sure you've shared it properly. And then the beauty of it is now in Google Sites, I can simply come here to the insert menu, say I want to insert a Drive folder, and now I can find that entire folder. So let me come down here and let me grab Sites files, and there's that Documents folder. I can grab that entire Documents folder, click Insert, and now what it's going to do is instead of inputting just an individual file in there, it's dropping the entire folder right there onto my site. So now when somebody comes to the site, they'll be able to see everything inside of that folder. So if it's a Chapter 1 folder, they could see all of the handouts or help guides or study guides from that. Now keep in mind, this is a live link. So if I go back to my documents folder at any point in the future, and I add a new file in here, as soon as I add something new to my Drive file, it automatically shows up on my site as well, because Google Sites is live pulling that information from my Google Drive file. So you don't have to worry about saying, oh, I added a new, study guide. I've got to go to Google Sites and upload it. No, you don't. All you have to do is make sure you've dropped it in your folder, and automatically it's going to show up on your Google site. Now, the same thing could be done for like a photo gallery. So let's pop over to that one as an example. Let's say we wanted to do a photo gallery. And we could do the same thing. We could add a folder full of pictures. So back here in my Google Drive, I've got a folder called Images, and there's just a whole bunch of pictures in the Images folder. What I could do is I could, again, from my insert menu, come over here to Drive folder, and from Drive folder, I could find that same folder again. There's Sites files, and there's my Images folder, and I could insert that Images folder. Now, when I first insert it, it's not too exciting at first because it's just listing out the titles of the pictures. But notice this, guys. If you insert a Drive folder, you can click on it and go to the little gear icon, and you can switch from what's called List View to what's called Grid View. And if you switch to Grid View, it'll now actually show you previews of those images. And now when somebody comes to the site, they could just click on a thumbnail and boom, it would open up that image for them to view. So that could be a neat way to be able to do something like a photo gallery page. All right, well, let me show you at least one more page, and then we'll go ahead and switch to some of the other topics like sharing and so forth. So we'll finish up with Google Drawings. Let's say this was one of my tech help pages, and I want to just insert a bunch of resources that people might want to use for Google Drawings. So for this one, I just wanted to show you a variety of things you might want to insert in. So for example, if I come over here to my insert menu, maybe I've got a help guide on Google Drawings. So that would be a Google Doc. I'll click on Google Docs, and here we'll just search for a help guide on using Google Drawings. There we go. And we'll grab a help guide for that, and we'll go ahead and insert that in. There it is, using Google Drawings. We'll insert that into our page. And maybe I want it to be really big, or I could make it smaller. I could move it over to the side. And then again, people could just scroll through that when they go to view that on the site. So that would be an option. Or again, I can make it bigger, smaller, whatever size you want. Let's say I want to grab a slideshow and insert that in. I think I've got a slideshow on Google Drawings as well. So let's go with Google Drawings for Schools. Let's see, find that one. Sure, this one looks good. Insert that. And again, it's going to drop it in there, but if you don't like where it's at, just drag it around, put it where you'd like it to be. Let's say I want to insert a video. No problem at all. Say you want to insert a YouTube video. Click that. Let's look for one of my videos. Let's see, teaching math with Google Drawings. I'll throw my name in there so it finds my video on that. Here it is. Grab that video and insert that. Boom, there it is. And we'll do just one more. Let's say we want to, this is kind of a neat one. Let's say we want to insert a web page, and we're going to go to my blog on Control-Alt-Achieve, and I've got a blog post I did on teaching math with Google Drawings. Let's say I want to copy that entire link So I will copy that link. And what you would do for that is you would use what's called the embed option. So in the insert menu, you see I can embed a URL. So let's go ahead and click the embed option, and I'll just paste that link in. And I'll show you what it does. When you add it, what it does is it actually adds it in with a little thumbnail, and it grabs the first part of the page. And again, I'll drag that down and put it next to the slideshow. And actually, I think it would look better. I'm going to move a couple things around here. Let's put the document next to that, and let's put the video at the top. There we go. That looks a little bit more balanced. So now there's a video and a slideshow and a document and a blog post all embedded. So basically, that's the idea of building a Google site. It's so easy. Simply go to the insert menu, insert your text boxes and images and videos and drive folders, and that can very quickly allow you to make a nice welcome page, to have a class docs page with embedded folder of all of your files, to have a calendar that is live, pulling information from your calendar, a photo gallery with thumbnails that people can click on, and then content pages with videos and slideshows and so forth inserted into there. Okay, now with all of that said, let's now chat about a couple other things, such as previewing your site, adding editors, and publishing. All three of these are going to be right up here in the top menu bar. So take a look at the top of your screen, and you will see to the left of the insert pages and themes, there's a spot that has an eyeball button, has a little add editors button, and a publish button. That's where we're going to finish up at here today. So the first one that we're going to look at is the preview button. That's the eyeball button. Anytime you want to, you can give a click on that, and it will let you see what your site is going to look like to the end user. And you may say, well, can't we kind of see that right now? Yeah, but we are in edit mode, so it may not look exactly the same. Probably a good idea to use the preview button to be able to check that out. So if you go ahead and give a click on the preview button, what you're going to get is a preview of your site. But what's really neat about this is notice that down here in the bottom right, it's got three buttons here to switch from computer view, which is basically if you're using like a laptop or a desktop, to tablet view. And this shows you, well, this is what it's going to look like if somebody's using an iPad or an Android tablet. And then phone view. And they'll say, well, this is what it's going to look like if you're looking at this on a phone. And so it's really nice to be able to view your site in those different formats and see how it's going to adjust, especially on a phone, because a lot of times we make things, we're designing them on a laptop or a desktop, and we don't realize how well that's going to look on a phone or how it might not look well. And so now you can say, that's how it's going to look. And so here's my class docs page on a phone. And here's my calendar on a phone. And here's my photo gallery on a phone. And then here is my Google Drawings page on a phone. And so in each case, it shows you how it adjusts that to be able to accommodate different devices. When you're done previewing it, just hit the little X down there in the bottom right, and it will take you right back to your edit mode. Next to the eyeball button, the next button over is the Add Editors button. This is if you want other people to work on the site with you. So simply go up there, give a click on the Add Editors button, and you'll get a pop-up that it gives you a spot where you can invite people to work on this with you. So if I said, you know what, I would like Anthony to be able to edit this page with me. I could simply put his email address in there, and when I click send, it's going to do like you would normally expect, like with a Google Doc, but it's doing with the Google site. It's going to send him an email, and it's also going to share this site with him so that he will be able to go into sites and edit this site. I'll go ahead and click send, and away it goes. And so now, if Anthony wanted to, he could jump in and work on this site with me. All right. Then the last button up there is the publish button. So up to this point, this is a private site. Nobody else can see it but me, or if I've added an editor, obviously the editor can work on it with me, but nobody else can see this site until I come up here to publish it. And so let me show you how that works. If you come up and give a click on the publish button, at this point, you have to do a couple of things to make your site go live. One of them is you have to give it a name. By default, it's going to pick up some stuff from your domain. So it's going to be like sites.google.com/ in my case, apps.spark.org/ whatever I want to name it. So it's going to be a kind of a long name. It's going to have the Google Sites part, then it's going to have your school's domain, and then it's going to have whatever you type. Here's the key, guys. Whatever you type here has to be unique. You can't have two people in the same school with a website called, my class page. This part has to be unique. So I'm just going to call mine sample 006, just because I know we haven't used that before. And it'll give you a little happy little check mark here to let you know nobody's used that. But if you type in an address that somebody else has already used, well, it wouldn't be available. Every web address has to be unique. It has to be an address that's just being used by you. So pick something there nice and simple and short. Just stick with letters and numbers is your best plan as well. Below there, then you get to decide, well, once we publish this, who's allowed to see it? You can choose anybody in your domain at your school, or you can say anybody in the world, anybody on the web. So you've got to decide, is this just a page for your school, or is it for parents and community members and for everybody to see? And then lastly, you have to decide, can it show up in search results? Google basically lets you decide, can people search for your site? If you don't check that, then basically the only way anybody's ever going to find your site is if you give them the link, or if you post the link on the district website and say, click here to go to my classroom page. If you check the box to allow the site to be searched, then it will show up in a Google search. Somebody could put in your name and a couple other key terms, and they'd be able to find your site. Now, I'm not going to do that for this demo account because I really don't want people to get confused and come across this demo account when it's just for training. So I'm just going to say anybody on the web can view it, but I'm not going to put it in the search results. And that's it. Go ahead and click publish, and chugga, chugga, chugga. It is now live. All right, there we go. This is now a live page. Anybody in the world who wanted to could get to this page. So if I come up here to my publish options, and I come here to view my published site, you will see that this is my real live site, and the address is sites.google.com/ my domain, apps.spark.org/ the name of my site, sample 006. And anybody that I give that address to would now be able to get to the site and use it. Now, at any point, I could come back up to the publish options, and I could unpublish if I decided I wanted to turn the site off, or go back into the publish settings and make changes, restrict it just to my domain or let it be searchable. One key thing to notice here, though, is this is very different. This is, again, different from classic sites. Once you've published something, it kind of takes a snapshot of it at that moment. And if you make changes to the site, those changes don't go live until you republish the site. So if I came in here and said, you know what, I'm going to make another new page, and this new page is going to be our newsletter page. So once I create this newsletter page, that's fantastic that I've got it. But if I go over to the site and I refresh the published site, guess what? Newsletter's not up there. Why? Because even though I added it here, I haven't republished the site. So you can work all you want on stuff and nobody's going to see the changes you've made, which is probably a good idea so that things aren't changing live while you're working on them. Once you're happy with it, just go back up, hit publish. It will republish what you've done. And now if somebody goes and refreshes the page, guess what? Hey, there's a newsletter page there now that wasn't there a moment ago. All right, good stuff. Well, we are coming really close to the end of our time. And I know Anthony has been typing frantically over there, answering questions. I appreciate that so much. What questions do we still have hanging out there, Anthony?
First question is, can you have an item go across all pages, such as a header or a motto or something of that nature?
Okay, so the question is, if you set like your header to look a certain way, can you force it so that every page just has that header? No, each header is unique. They are individual pages. So each header is going to be its own. They do not have to be the same. Now, when you create a new page, it will copy whatever page you're on. Like if I'm on my home page and I'm viewing my home page and I create a new page, it will borrow from that. So that would save you a little bit of time, but no, there's no guarantee from page to page that they're going to be the same. Like you don't pick like this is the header. Every page, the header, it can be unique. Yeah.
And our second question is there a limit to the number of drop-down menu levels?
One level. So basically here, you can get one level. You can have as many in here as you want. I could have another web page on Google Docs, and I could have another one on Google Sheets, and I can drag all of those and put those in that Tech Help dropdown. Let me do that real quick. And so now under Tech Help, you'll see all of those, but there's not then another level deeper that from Google Docs, then it gets a pop off to the side with additional things. No, it is only one layer deep as far as how deep those go.
And I know the answer for the last one, but if the title is too long, it will truncate it in the menu display.
Okay.
Does it not wrap it?
You're saying it truncates it?
Yes.
So if you have a really, really long title, it'll truncate that to in the menu up here. All right, very good. Well, folks, hopefully that gives you a solid introduction overview of how the new Google Sites works. It's a really nice program that's just crazy easy to use. It makes very attractive looking sites. I think it'd be great for staff and students as well. I'm excited to see over the coming months and year what Google adds to the new version of Google Sites. Looking for a lot of neat new features to come out over time. But for now, as we go to wrap up, just want to remind you guys that all of the resources from this session today can be found at tiny.cc/spark240. Again, that is the page where you'll find the live video now, which will become the recorded video. And then below there, you'll have the session resources, the live chat document, the session evaluation, and within just a couple minutes, a session quiz that you can take to prove that you watched the video as well. So again, guys, we just want to thank you so very much for being with us here today. We look forward to you joining us again in the future for other upcoming educational technology webinars. Take care.